Well, welcome to my third lecture on the Queen's Indian defense. The Queen's Indian defense starts off by d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, and b6. Now I've already covered the Petrosian variation where white plays a3, and I've covered the classical variation where white plays g3. Now I want to cover the variation where white plays knight to c3. And there's two main continuations now for black. The first one is where black plays bishop to b4, and I think this may actually be a transposition to the Nimzo-Indian, or it can transposition into the Nimzo-Indian. So black can play bishop to b4, or the other one is bishop to b7. Let me cover the bishop to b7 first. It's the most one in line with the Queen's Indian defense, putting the bishop on the long diagonal with the idea of controlling the 4 square, or especially also the d5 square. Now white will play a3, preventing the pin. And then black will play d5, once again controlling, trying to get a firm grip on the 4 square. It also allows, now if really wanted to, black could play the knight to here. White will take, and then black will retake with the knight. We've seen this before. Whoops. I did not mean that. d5 takes, knight takes. Once again, black with white capturing the pawn. Black has lost some control over the e4 square, but what white gave up was control over some control over the d5 square. But since white wants to play e4, that's very important. So white exchanges the pawns, and now white will play queen to c2, sort of reinforcing the knight, defending the knight, even though it doesn't need to be defended. But sort of looking at e4, because it wants to protect that square and also hopefully play e4. Now black will exchange off the knights. The pawn will retake. So white gets slightly weakened pawn structure now. I would say it would be useful if maybe if white could make use of this file here, like by moving this knight over and having some use along this file, but nothing is really there now. Black will play bishop to e7, developing, preparing the castle. Also keeping the knight or a piece out of the square here for white. White will play e4, one of its goals. And then black will castle. White will play bishop to d3, developing the bishop, preparing the castle, and also reinforcing the defense of the e4 square. And then black will play pawn to c5, attacking the d4 pawn. So that does it for that line in the Russian variation. Let's back up. Here. So instead of playing the bishop to b7, black can play the bishop to b4. So this looks very much like the Nimzo-Indian. And then white will develop the bishop on c1 with a pin, sort of a counter pin. But white's pin is relative, meaning the knight can actually move with the queen can be captured, and black's pin is actually absolute, meaning the knight cannot move. And now black will play bishop to b7, putting the bishop on the long diagonal. White will play e3, supporting the center and freeing the bishop on f1. Then black will play, wants to break the pin. And like I said before, this pin is much stronger if the other side is castled. So black's going to break the pin. So by playing h6, the bishop goes to h4, g5, and the bishop is forced to go to g3. And now black will play the knight to e4. So the tactic now actually is if white doesn't do anything, maybe just I don't know, or black is now threatening capture, and if the pawn recaptures, then black will take the pawn and then have a fork of the king and the rook. Hopefully that makes sense. The queen comes to c2. And now the bishop will capture. This knight is very strong. You're saying, why didn't capture with the knight? Well, this knight is very strong sitting here. It's a centralized knight. So it looks like so these two pieces are why capture with the bishop. Well, my first instinct is that these two pieces are very good, and this one is probably not as good. It also forces the capture because white is in check. The pawn has to recapture, or white's just going to lose the queen. And then black will play d6, so this knight can come out. Well, that about does it for the Russian variation. That also concludes my lecture series on the Queen's Indian defense.